Video. There you go, there you go. There go my people, that's my little brother. He ain't so little no more. Baby, you cannot be in the sink. What are you doing? Yo, what is up? Yo, what's up, people? My name is Tim Black. Welcome to the Tim Black Show. How y'all doing? Special Saturday edition of the Tim Black Show. We're live on Facebook, X, and of course, YouTube. Here we go. I said, here we go. You know what we're here to talk about. Karmelo Anthony, the verdict regarding it was going to be a retrial. So that's where we at. That's what we're going to cover here tonight. Yeah, it's technically nighttime, though. Typically, when I do a live stream, I'm doing it much later in the evening. So this feels like morning time to me, baby. Believe that. But yeah, we're here because, as I stated yesterday, that if they came in with a verdict today, I would stop what I was doing and I would cover it. I can't leave you at the mercy of hacks. Plus, I'm sure my to some of the points that I'm going to bring out, I'm sure that you're not going to hear them anywhere else because they are authentically my own points. And no one's living in my head but me, believe that. So we got it here. We got my people tuning in. People are filing in as we speak. The judge just denied Karmelo Anthony's retrial motion. Here's what that actually means and what it doesn't. I want you to know this is about procedure. This is not about guilt or innocence. Once again, this is not guilt or innocence. The trial did not happen. There was no retrial. So this verdict is a ruling, not a verdict. It's a ruling. So I've seen some people doing like victory laps and being very excited and very jovial over this, as if this means that Karmelo Anthony is guilty of something. No, it means that the grounds for which they were asking for a new trial, they couldn't get a new trial based on that. That's what this means. So basically what they filed for was denied. Not saying he can't appeal, because he can. So as we get back to that, so first thing I want to do is I want to jump off into a clip, because this clip is going to say it better than I can. It's from a lawyer, and maybe it will put it more in perspective for people out there so that you understand. Let's start with that one.
Sources to News Nation, Karmelo Anthony will not get a new trial, leaving his murder conviction in place in the death of Austin Metcalf. Anthony will continue to serve his 35-year sentence. His bid for a new trial was focused on what happened before the trial took place, as well as an informal agreement between prosecutors and the defense over what evidence would be presented. Criminal and civil attorney Mark Reichel joins us now to help us walk through all of this. Mark, we're just getting this information into the newsroom, so I know that you've had an opportunity to review this and you're more familiar. Exactly what does this mean for us? Does this officially end the case, Mark, or is there more to learn?
No. So when somebody's sentenced to a sentence like that, which was 35 years, and almost a life sentence, there'll be plenty of time to relitigate this exact matter. Right away, they brought it up and said, new lawyers said, hey, there was this gentleman's agreement, much to our client's detriment. Shouldn't have happened. It was bad practice on their part. So they wanted to get in there right away and get a new trial. Look, it's been denied. He's going to go up on appeal. But while that's pending, they can continue to gather evidence, do some research, investigate, get more evidence about this gentleman's agreement, kind of look at the record, determine how it really prejudiced him, refile a motion. You can file a new trial motion on new evidence just about any time. So this is not the end of this case, not at all.
So this is not the end of the case. This is just a procedural element of the case. They cannot open a retrial, was not granted based on the evidence that was presented, based on the conditions on which they wrote the motion. So they went and they looked at the motion. They said, what we got here, it's enough. It was enough to get the judge removed. That was the first part of the motion. The second motion was a retrial. And that's what was not granted. Judge Chitty. Let's keep going.
Mark, and I guess that's the question. Those of us who have been watching it from the outside, I have to believe that people at home were like, what new information can be gleaned here? That it would seem that the defense and the prosecution both laid out everything that they had. What were the grounds that Karmelo was arguing?
Well, before the trial started, they said, look, if Karmelo takes a stand, we've got some stuff which is going to embarrass him. We're going to try to impeach him and say, oh, yeah, you're such a great guy. Well, then what about these things you did just before the crime happened? It's going to, inflame tensions because we're really polarized in this case. At the same time, they said to the defense, we know you have evidence about the victims here, those, the victims and the bad stuff they've done beforehand. If we can both sides agree to keep this out, we can just talk about what happened that day. And they both thought that was the logical thing to do. It'd be better for the jury. It'd be better for the public. It'd be better for the trial. And it wouldn't influence the judge or even the jury and so forth and so on. So they cut that gentleman's agreement. I got to be honest with you, similar stuff like that happens. But if it's really that extensive of this gentleman's agreement and it wasn't litigated beforehand, like by pretrial motions, it's a little strange.
Mark, help me here with this here. Anthony's team dropped plans for him to testify in this trial. Do you think that hurt him? Is that something that they regret now?
It's tough. Most defense attorneys, we don't put our client on the stand. And that's because it's going to come down whether the jury likes you or not. You can be doing a great job in your trial where you're attacking. You put your client on and it's over. If they don't like him, everything good you've done goes away. So that's the problem.
Mark Reichel, I want to thank you again for jumping in here with this breaking news and walking us through that. Thank you so much.
Okay, so there we go. That's it, baby. So a gentleman's agreement. They both agreed that they would not bring up earlier events. They would only focus on what happened that day between Austin and Karmelo. And I got a lot of problems with it, frankly, because part of my frustration is I believe that Austin Metcalf was the aggressor. And after seeing the information about Austin Metcalf, I don't see how people can deduce differently. Karmelo Anthony arguing with his girlfriend, texting some things to her, but not doing anything, didn't do anything to his girlfriend. I guess that was damning enough for his defense to be like, look, we don't want this stuff in. Because they're looking to paint him this way. And if he makes a text message about using a knife, well, he used a knife with Austin. So they're gonna say, well, that's it right there. Though he had no history of doing such, just talking about it was enough. Get what I'm saying? But what about Austin? I feel like a lot of what happened, a lot of what was revealed this last couple of days about Austin's background plays right into a bully. Him and his brother, bullies, racist, anti-Semitic, everything. Beating up women, all this stuff. It's all in there. Threatening, attacking people based on race. And it's crazy because people know that's in there. They know that that's his background, that's his history, right? And they don't give a damn. They still say that Karmelo Anthony, was the aggressor under the tent. Meanwhile, Austin's with all these guys, including his twin brother, and it's just Karmelo. And they deny that, Karmelo was attacked. They deny, even though they know Austin was racist. Fam, if you're writing KKK on the wall and kill all the blacks and the N-word, and you're doing Heil Sieg, the swastika Nazi stuff, you got all that going for you. And some of the stuff is not old, like 2023, 2024, bullying and beating up a black student. These things are relevant, but the fact that the defense did not feel comfortable, they did not believe, and they were probably right. They did not believe, based on the makeup of that jury, that anybody, if they saw a text message where Karmelo could just be talking shit. Frankly, fam, a lot of what people are pointing to as evidence could have just been Karmelo selling wolf tickets. He could have just made it up. There's no arrest record from him doing a lot of stuff that are in the text messages that he said he did. He said he did stuff. There was no arrest record. But the shit that Austin Metcalf did, there's record of him actually doing it. So Karmelo talked himself into jail. He talked himself into a situation where his defense attorneys didn't think they could get him out of it. Not that he did himself into it, not that he committed these acts, but that he talked about shit. And you know what? They're probably right. And look, I was upset that he did not take the stand, but now I get it. Just think about how dirty you got to be. You won't let him take the stand and state why he did what he did. It'd be different if they said, if you bring up Austin in past events, we'll bring up past events with Karmelo. But that's not what they did, folks. That was the agreement. They waited till the end. Because remember, people were thinking Karmelo was going to take the stand. They waited until it was the last day. And they said, if you take the stand, our bets are off. We're going to go in after you. We're going to bring up everything about you, everything in the text messages, all that shit. Not if you bring us up, but if you speak up for yourself. And that's what a lot of people are omitting. So I had people that are contacting me that say, Tim Black, you need to check out Nate the lawyer. Now, Nate the lawyer is someone that some people respect. And I say he does a better job than most as far as being ethical. But I got to say, when I watch his content, on this particular case, he left a lot to be desired. It was pretty obvious he was riding for Austin Metcalf, in my opinion. These were all words. This is just talk that Karmelo engaged in. Karmelo did not, write KKK, kill all the whites on the wall. He wasn't doing Heil Siegs. They said he made some jokes and repeated Grand Theft Auto overdubs in the text. So some of the things in his text that they were like, oh my God, these are things that are in video games. He repeated them word for word. This thing about licking blood off a knife, that's an ad lib off of a video game. But they say, oh, that's really what he's really on that. So it is what it is. There was one text, and I'm not going to spend too much time, but there's one text where Karmelo Anthony, he tells his girlfriend, if these guys mess with you, just tell them you got a boyfriend that's a killer. You got a boyfriend that'll, that'll kill him, and he'll do this, he'll do that. Though he hadn't done shit. They used that against him, though Yeah, you might tell your girl, man, them guys, but you tell them I'm gonna beat them up, I'm gonna get them. They use that because it's really easy with a young black man, a black teenager, to frame him as a hooligan and a thug. And I notice even in Nate the Lawyer, as much as people say, Tim, check him out because he's got he's got more evidence presented than you do. They left out the fact that Nate's calling Karmelo a thug. He wasn't calling Austin a thug. Even I watch things like body language. I watched Nate the Lawyer talk about Karmelo Anthony, and I noticed when he was watching the clip, he had his arms like this, but when he played clips of Austin, he was relaxed. So these are things that I, peep game. He was more judgmental when he played the Austin Metcalf clips, I should say, the Austin Metcalf clip, as if he disagreed with them. Anyway. So we are where we are, folks, and I still believe that if it was not for the actions of Austin Metcalf going after Karmelo Anthony under that tent, then we're not sitting here. I still believe that Karmelo Anthony, he shouldn't have stabbed him. That's what I believe. I believe that, but I do not believe it was murder, okay? I believe it was something, but it was not that. This is where I want to remind you, you're watching the Tim Black Show. We cover live streams Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here, 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you like this broadcast so far, go ahead and hit the like button. Let somebody know you're watching the show because, frankly, fam, this is a special presentation. We want to give you what we have here regarding this. I got another clip I want to go to. I want to see what you think about this. Man, it's a clip of Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf. And I want to play it because Chris Cuomo interviewed the guy, and it just doesn't sit right with me. But, hey, you judge for yourself. You let me know what you think. It should play in a moment. Play, damn it. Okay, what's right?
This is very weird because there's now a bunch of alleged information about Austin Metcalf in the air that is very ugly stuff. Imagine if this is your kid, he's gone, and now it's kind of like he's being put on trial. I wanted to talk to his father about it, and Jeff Metcalf agreed and joined to come on to discuss it. Jeff, thank you for taking.
I gotta say, fam, when I heard that part right there, it shook me for a moment because only thing I could think was, welcome to our world. There hasn't been a single case where a black person was killed by either cops or by private citizens where the background of the black deceased individual wasn't put on trial, in my opinion. I can't think of a single one. Whether it was Ahmaud or if it was Jotham Bean, yeah. Or if it was, anybody you name, Sandra Bland, like just name anybody, Trayvon Martin. I mean, it's a long list, Eric Garner. Anytime there was a black person that's deceased, we get this treatment. But Chris Cuomo is he's shaking to the core of himself because Austin Metcalf's relevant evidence was presented about him after the trial. You got the 35-year conviction. And he wants to interview Jeff Metcalf about how he feels about his son being tried.
Taking the time and the opportunity.
Thank you, Chris. Glad to be here with you tonight.
So, you know everything I know and more. What do you make of the developments that we saw today?
I mean, It's another procedural trial hearing, just like yesterday for the judge. Today is for, talk about the retrial, if they're going to grant that or not. Yeah, information did come out. I'll be honest, as a father, I was disappointed, very disappointed in seeing those things. But at the end of the day, it's really about the facts of the case, because I have to relive this all over again.
Yeah, I had a lot of problems with this part too. So what was so upsetting to you, Jeff? Was it upsetting that your son worshiped KKK? That he, that he taunted black folks? That he bullied a black castmate? That he punched a girl in the stomach just like earlier that same year in school, got suspended? What were you upset about? I mean, because you knew that was your son. I mean, you weren't surprised. I mean, you knew all this shit that we now know, the anti-Semitic, the anti-black shit he was on. You didn't know about all that stuff? But see, that's just something I would bring up because I'm Tim Black. Of course, Chris Cuomo's not going to bring it up. I mean, it's all on the record. Jeff Metcalf knew his son. He knew his son was a blunt, plain racist. You mean to tell me, fam, that's not relevant? No one considers that as relevant when there's a group of white kids, you're under a tent, and you're the black kid under the tent, and then the one kid that you get into it with is the guy that's racist. Why the white kid walk up to him again? I thought it was just, what was it? Now we know what it was. I got a feeling that everybody under that tent lied to keep the secret of what was said in the threats that were made under that tent. Because anybody who writes kill all the ends, who's known to bully black students, well, I got a feeling he didn't say anything nice to Karmelo. But hey, of course, Jeff gets to do crocodile tears. Good luck with the new organization, Jeff. Ironic. Now he starts an organization. Well, no one's calling this a money grab by him? No, huh? Now he's Mr. Benevolent. What about when you were raising the little Hitler kid? It's easy. Like now, look. I want to be clear, man. I wish his son was still alive, but he isn't. And I still believe that's a shame and that's a tragedy. But I also still believe that is due to the actions in part of his son of being aggressive, FAFOing with Karmelo Anthony. I believe that. I believe that he would not have assaulted, approached, confronted, tried to bully Karmelo Anthony, and now that I know that the state of mind that he was in at the time, yeah. Bad breakup with his girlfriend. Talking about he's on the verge. These are things that Karmelo said in his text messages. Probably not a good time to try to bully that guy. And it looks to me like what happened was, unfortunately for both of them, Karmelo was not the one on that day, and Austin was so arrogant and so racist and so everything that his dad already knew that he tried his hand. And unfortunately, we know what the result was. And I'm not supporting the result. Once again, Karmelo should not have done that. But I also had enough to say, I also feel that Austin shouldn't have done that. And that's something I'm not hearing them say about Austin, whether it's Nate the lawyer or any of the other conservative media people. Not even Chris Cuomo could say that. There were all those other kids under that tent. Only one he gets into it with, the only person that ends up getting injured and unfortunately fatally stabbed is Austin. And now we're not going to connect the dots and say maybe it's because who Austin was and how Austin got down. That's a leap. Well, it was nobody else. It was him. So that's just a coincidence. that the one racist who wants to kill all the blacks, the guy doing Hitler signs and shit, who's bullying other black kids in class, gets suspended for it. Not when he was 15 and 14, the same year. Now we're supposed to believe that Karmelo was not accosted by this guy. He accosts other people. Why would he not accost Karmelo? So, anyway. Of course, Karmelo lives up to be the same guy I thought he always was.
And no matter what the outcome of this is, information did.
Everything I know and more. What do you make of the developments now? It's kind of like he's there. Put information about both very, very unusual. And this is very weird because there's now a bunch of alleged information about Austin Metcalf in the air that is very ugly stuff.
And we're not used to stuff being out there about white kids. It's always the black kids. So this is really strange. I'm sorry, fam. I gotta say it, man. It's just what it is. Yeah. I mean, think about it, guys. We knew everything about Jordan Neely. What'd you know about Daniel Penny? Other than he was a Marine. We don't even know if he had drugs in his system at the time. We don't know if he had a drinking problem, a domestic violence fault. We don't know anything about Daniel Penny. But we knew everything about Jordan Neely's mental issues, his mom being killed, his drug addiction. Nothing about the perpetrator, the guy who unalived him. But we now know everything about Karmelo and everything about Austin. And that's rare. Not that it helped Karmelo any. Because no matter what they found on Karmelo, even though they're just text messages, not warrants, not pre-existing convictions, that was Austin with those. It was going to be used, it was going to be weighted either identical to Austin or a little heavier. Even though they are just words, like words they're basically rap lyrics. Rap lyrics. What is not a rap lyric is a spray painting on a wall. What's not a rap lyric is beating people up because they look different than you. So here's the deal, fam. This is it. Once again, this is the Tim Black Show. Hit the subscribe button if this makes any sense to you. Tune into my commentary. It's not news reporting, it's commentary. Okay, it's a little bit different. I tell you what's going on and I tell you why and what I think about it. You get to make your own mind up. And we all, that's what we do. So Judge Chitty, Judge Chitty, I'm just thinking I'm playing words what that sounds like. He ruled the procedural denial, not a retrial of the facts. He denied that there was a procedural reason based on the way the case was handled, that based on what was presented in the motion, he denied that rose to the level of a retrial. Okay? That's what happened today. Draw the line. Flawed process. Flawed process. Yeah, this whole process has been flawed as hell, right? Everything leading up to this point has been flawed. I mean, we don't have any accurate footage of what took place under that tent. All the witnesses, the majority of witnesses, initially said Austin was the aggressor, and then 6 months later, when it's time to go to trial, everybody says, no, it was Karmelo. That's not what they were saying the day the police took the statements. So that's weird as hell. And then for some reason, there's this weird agreement that even people admit, that's strange. Like, you heard the lawyer, he said that's not typical. we have an agreement that you won't bring up anything, and we let's keep it focused on just this. I'm not saying that Carmelo's innocent. Obviously, Karmelo unalived Austin. I just don't believe it was murder. And I know that's hard for some people to understand that that's the difference. There's it's not the same thing. So the public trials, there's also been people that have been questioning about this public trial aspect of it. We need to get into that. And then we talk about threats, public pressure. And then, of course, there's also that good misinformation out there. So I want to get into that because some of us don't get it, that the trial, though it was open to certain members who could come into the jury, it still was not public enough to rise to the level of a public trial. And I think it should have been a public trial. I mean, this thing has still got communities in an uproar. And I'm not saying if it would have been more public, that less people would be upset, but I think it would be more transparent. And that's why you want more transparent proceedings in courts and stories like this or cases like this, because the public, we don't want people at each other's throats relying on information based on a news broadcast. We want people to be able to go to the source material and see the damn trial, man. I know that there are certain people that went in the courtroom, but could you take off work to go do that? All right. Before we move any further, man, let's go to the comment section. I know I got some people in the chat. I'm pretty sure it's kind of lit right now. All right? That's what I'm pretty sure of. Let's see what's happening, fam. There it is. Let's check this out. Here we go. In the day and age we live in, there's no clear footage of what happened. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying, fam. At this point, as far as we've gone, you mean to tell me you can't even go to the supermarket? You can't go to wash your car without being on film. I mean, everything you do is on film. You mean to tell me you at a school and we can't get any footage, man? There's nothing. You at a track meet and nothing. There's nothing. And then we got all these kids with all these cameras, these smartphones. We got some dumb phones. If no one's got a phone out, nothing, there's a commotion going. There's nobody with any cell phone footage. I still don't believe that. How many people of you doubt? How many of you doubt that there was not a single teenager in that stadium who, when they heard the commotion, held up their phone? All we got is some bullshit CCTV from across the damn way, 3 counties away or something, and then a body cam after the thing. That's all we got, fam. You really believe that's all the footage that's out there, or do you believe like I do? That's the only footage they let us see. All right, Kingdom Honcho, thank you, brother. Yeah, and I know people gonna say, Tim Blackman, you're reaching. Nah, man, I'm just saying. I don't think you can get away with anything. Like that public. Cheryl Thomas, 35 years is absurd. Like the guilt they can argue, but 35 years, extremely excessive. Exactly. Extremely excessive. Like I stated, Cheryl, I'm a dad, right? I got boys, I got girls, I got grandbabies at this point. And so, and even if I didn't, I like to say, I think I value people's lives. So I'm not saying what Karmelo Anthony did was cool. I'm not co-signing it, but I'm saying people do things to each other. People unalive each other every day. I do not feel whatever Karmelo was saying in his text messages to his girlfriend that he had just broke up with. I don't think that is enough to say this guy went there with the intentions of doing something to Austin Metcalf. He may have been in a mental state of mind that made him be more defiant, right, to what was happening to him. But there was no evidence that Karmelo said, "Ooh, I'm going to get you." In fact, it was the opposite. He said, "If you mess with me, you're going to find out. I got something. If you mess with me, you're going to find out." In my opinion, that meant that it was time for Austin to back off, but he wouldn't because he was a bully. And now that people can see it's clear, it's in the evidence. Now we see he's got a history. It said 53 pages of infractions on Austin Metcalf. People still will not admit that maybe Austin provoked the situation, being the bully that he was. So thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate you. I don't know what that is. I'll just keep going. Yeah, some of these comments, I got a couple people. He said, nobody said Austin was the aggressor ever. Hey, conservative Chris, people did say he was the aggressor. People said that Austin and his brother beat his dad's ass. There's 55 pages, 53 pages of aggressive Austin. So that's his background, being aggressive. Even in the text messages of Karmelo, most of the violence he's talking about is in reaction to somebody else. Austin was never reacting to anybody else. He was initiating violence. The initial police reports, they said that Austin put his hands on Karmelo. You denying that that's what took place? I know sometimes reading is hard, but that's what was listed in the police reports, that he shoved Karmelo. Everyone admits that. Hey, look, I got no problem with you riding for the wrong. You're just wrong, right? Nothing wrong with you being wrong. You can be wrong, right? Because you are. But let's not deny reality. It was common knowledge. Everyone keeps saying him shoving Karmelo Anthony was not enough of a reason for him to stab Austin. That's the running thing. So maybe you want to retract your statement, because we all know that's what I've been hearing a lot of conservatives like yourself. And you know how weird it is to name yourself conservative? Like, that's weird. You're a person. But you're such a diehard conservative that you have to put that in your name. Not where you live, not what you do for a living. Weird. You're upset about politics. You don't think you think you're a well-adjusted person. That's all I'm saying. You think you're a cool person. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of weird. Anyway, let's keep going. I noticed a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? I noticed a lot of that. Like, yeah, the footage was blurry, fam. And I think this is what leads us to being like we have been about this case, because we cannot see for ourselves. People want to make up their own opinions. People want to make their own judgments based on seeing it for themselves. We don't trust news media. We don't trust politicians, and we do not trust the news media, right? I think everyone agrees on that, right? In this particular case, fam, we could not see what was happening. Instead, you're listening to other people try to tell you what they think they saw. And that's not cool. Not for 35 years. 35 years, and we couldn't see what happened clearly. I would think you would need to be able to see pretty clearly if you're going to take somebody's life away. Right? That's what I would think. But obviously not in Texas. I appreciate you, Knowledge Nook. I appreciate you. No. And this is something, I'm glad you put this up, because we need to clear this up, because words are hard, but we need to use them the right way. Bill O writes, What I tell you guys? He says Karmelo admitted to murdering Austin. Stop. He admitted to stabbing Austin. Get it? You understand that? Like if somebody came through your front door, they broke into your house, a home invasion, and you grabbed your trusty Bill O'Reilly's revolver or whatever you have, and you shot them, and then the cops came, and they say, what happened to this guy? You would say, I shot him. That's not murder, sir. Get it? You understand what I'm saying? Karmelo admitted that he stabbed Austin. He did not say he murdered him. Words matter, son. Young man, words matter. And I'm just assuming it's a guy. Because most women are not challenged to the point where they don't know how this looks. But you get a lot of hot dates. He says zero testimony that shows any kind of justification for Karmelo to stab anyone. Fam, I would never say he was justified in stabbing. I would say Austin contributed to the stabbing by being the aggressor, putting his hands on Karmelo. And you know what I think Bill O'Reilly's guy? And I'm just going to assume that you're a white guy. Pretty sure of it. And I know assumptions are bad to make, man, but I'm not to do it, fam. I got a feeling that if Karmelo was deceased and he had put his hands on Austin, you wouldn't even be making that comment. Now, I could be wrong. You could be one of the very few very conservative guys who've been in my comment section trolling, but you're honest. You know what I'm saying? You're ethical. You know, I could be wrong, man, but I just got a feeling. Because you're the same guys who thought it was okay for Daniel Penny, to choke an unarmed homeless person to death on a train and then get to go to the football game with the president and the vice president and then get a new job in a shiny car. Because he said some things and he had done some things some other time that no one knew he had done. But you justified that. You probably still do. So see, I've been doing this long enough, man. Look, I appreciate you coming through, Bill O'Reilly's. So look, guys. Here's the thing. Once again, I just want to say for the record, once again, the way to handle something like this, if I could have been a bug on the wall, if I could have been there, if I could have talked to Karmelo, I'd have been like, just leave this tent. Let's get the hell out of here. I don't care if it's raining. You've been wet before. That's what I would say. Right? But I wasn't there to say that. I also think if I would have been there, maybe I would have also could have said, hey, Austin, let him chill, man. But he's good. Leave him alone. Somebody could have said that. You don't think both of those scenarios wouldn't have been extremely better than what we have now? I'm like, you don't think those would be better outcomes if one person would have been able to help that do you think it's possible it would have been a better world for both these guys if somebody would have did one of those two things? But nobody did, son. Nobody told Karmelo, hey, just come on, let's get out of here. It ain't worth it. Go stand in the rain, whatever. Bump these guys. Or to Austin, hey, man, keep your hands to yourself. Come on over here, man. Check out this. Let's talk about something. Leave this guy alone. If anyone does that, if anybody has the wisdom to do that, then Karmelo's he's not effectively in prison for the rest of his life, and Austin still has a life. And the fact that you don't see that those opportunities existed for both of these young men, you only see Karmelo. I'm open. I say I see both sides of that, not you guys. And that's what the problem I got with the conservatives. You guys If you're not racist, you're delusional, or I don't know. I don't know what you want to call it. But I can look at it as a dad and as a human being and as a husband, and I could say those would have been better outcomes to this scenario. I don't know why you guys can't do the same thing. Look, guys, so it is what it is. It is what it is. Check it out. The Fall Guy says conservative Chris is not needed in this conversation. Tariq debunks him all the time. Oh, he does. Well, this is a good opportunity for me. Let me find him. Oh, you're a star. It's what you do. This is your stick. You run around jumping in comment sections of foundational Black Americans and make crazy statements that don't make any sense. I mean, I guess it's enjoyment, like entertainment for the audience. So I'll play. I'll play. We can play. I appreciate that, the Fall Guy. Yeah, I pretty much agree that Texas is. Look, I would love to disagree with this, but based on what I've seen, hard to disagree with this statement, fam. Hard to disagree. Yeah. Gary says you can't change people's minds. We can call it even one with the worms, and the others shall be out in 35 years. Actually, he's up for parole in 17 years. He's potentially up for parole in 17 years. But this doesn't mean he can't appeal. He just couldn't get things. He couldn't get a retrial based on the quick procedural elements, right? So you get your retrial immediately if the case was handled inappropriately. You can prove that, it was unjust the way the trial was conducted. That's what they try to do. They try to get a quick win, right? Now the defense is going to have to go back to the drawing board, find new evidence, and present that new evidence and see if they can get an appeal based on the new evidence. You get what I'm saying? So now it's back to a regular case. Just like most other cases, very few cases get overturned because of procedures. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but most of the cases that I've covered over the last 15 years that I've been doing this, all the high-profile cases that we've been covering, they never get overturned on that. This is rare. Okay. So that's what, I played a clip about this earlier, fam. You're not a conservative, but you're called the Bill of Rights. Okay, I got you, man. I'm looking for new people, man. It's a Carlton Banks. Yeah, and I appreciate you for this one, man. Carlton Banks, thank you, fam. Give it up for Carlton Banks. I mean, it was common knowledge, fam. But see, that goes to show you how our media is. Our social media, because we know this is either that or your media, the actual media that you get, you consume. It just lies to people, okay? Even Austin's own brother said Austin assaulted Karmelo. Other students said he did. I thought you liked facts. That's the point. Yeah, I agree. But we just heard people in the comment section saying that wasn't facts. No one said that Austin assaulted Karmelo. No one disputes that Austin assaulted Karmelo. They just said that his response was too out of balance with the threat. And I got people, that means we got people that are commenting and people that are really involved in this case, man, who haven't taken any time to know anything about the case. If you don't know that, so they say him stabbing Austin was disproportionate to the threat. That's why self-defense didn't work. It wasn't that he wasn't assaulted. It wasn't that Austin wasn't the aggressor. He just didn't do enough. So like George Zimmerman stalked Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin fought George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman had a gun. And he had a boo-boo on the back of his head because he got in a fight with Trayvon Martin. And he shot Trayvon, the unarmed Trayvon, after following and stalking him. And the court still said, "You're good." So these cases, I've been covering them for a long time. And that was Florida, so maybe Florida's different. He had no need to back down, and they felt it was justified because Zimmerman had a bump on the back of his head. His eyes weren't beat up shut. He had no broken bones. He needed no surgeries. But they justified him unaliving a teenager because the teenager beat him in a fight. So this happens all the time. But it went different, it went the opposite way when it was Trayvon and Zimmerman. Get what I'm saying? All right. Zimmerman was defending himself against Trayvon, and he walks. You know, it's no rhyme or reason, but you know, I appreciate you, Carson. I appreciate you. So it is what it is. I got any ladies in the house, man? Any ladies coming through, man? Brenda, check it out. Brenda says, at least the twins never tried to murder anyone. How low the bar is. How low the bar is. Hey, Brenda, I don't justify murder, right? But see, I don't believe what happened was murder. I know that's what they convicted him of. I disagree with that decision. I believe he unalived Austin. But since Austin was the aggressor, I do not believe it was murder. You understand? Okay. I mean, we're gonna have a hard time here, man, if people don't understand the gravity of words. If you go into your car tonight and somebody jumps on you and you shoot them and unalive them, that's not murder. That's something else. Now, if they jump on you and they don't have a gun or a knife, you might not get away with it. Right? Because what they do to you that was so bad that you had to shoot him. I mean, basically, that's kind of what happened to Karmelo here. Austin did put his hands on Karmelo. He was the aggressor, but they say Karmelo's response was disproportionate. It was too extreme. Now, if he would have punched Austin and Austin would have fell and hit his head, maybe it's a different outcome. But it's the fact he had that blade, he had that tool, whatever people call it, different things. But the fact he used that and that caused his death, that's where they got him on. So look, man, I'm trying to work with y'all so that we make sense to one another. Based on popular demand, folks, look, do me a favor, hit the like button if you like this broadcast so far. I want to play some clips from my brother, Nate the lawyer. Before I do that, I want to remind everybody that we do this commentary 3 times a week. If you're new to the show, my name's Tim Black. I've been creating content online for 15 years. I'm the longtime host of the Tim Black Show. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm an independent. In fact, some people say I'm so critical of the Democrats that I must be a Republican, but I am not. I just feel like it's time for Black Americans to get something for their vote. And the Democrats are not giving them anything. So if that's the type of politics that you are interested in hearing a little bit more about, then subscribe to the channel because we do a lot of politics on this channel. If you want somebody to be a bleeding heart liberal, this ain't the right place. but I try my best to be fair, right? But I want you to know up front, I'm not a bleeding heart liberal. I believe we should have a border. And people should obey our borders, just like we got to obey other countries' borders. That's what I believe. And that makes me far right to some people. That's crazy talk to them. For some reason. It's strange. So, yeah, go ahead and join us. Join us on Patreon and join us here on YouTube. Become a member to this channel because this is a dangerous program because we speak truth to power. Our motto is stay dangerous, not because we want to unalive anyone, but because lies are safe. It's the truth that's dangerous. And I believe what's true is when they dismissed all the black people off that jury, they did it for a reason. And I know I got some smart people in this audience who are smart enough to believe that when lawyers do things, when attorneys do things, it's for reasons. I mean, we can all agree. Prosecutors do things for reasons, right? I believe they did it for a reason, and that was to get a conviction. All right, let's keep it moving, fam. Let me see. One of my people that frequently comes to the channel, one of those brothers, man, he hit me up. He said, you need to check out Nate, the lawyer. So let's check out Nate, the lawyer. I got the first part of his
35 years for Karmelo Anthony, eligible for parole after serving half of that time.
Now, this became a huge, ridiculous issue about race because Karmelo Anthony happened to be black, the person he stabbed was white, and it became...
You know, and off the break, the moment he said this, it sat with me the wrong way, you know, because he said, I hate when people say people happen to be. See, that's where you got to stop. I got to stop you. Tim Black's Wolfpack, give me a one-up if you understand what I'm saying. In fact, anybody here watching, give me a one if you understand what I'm saying. Check this out. And I know people recommended it. I check out Nick the lawyer's take on this because they tend to agree with him. And remember, this is the beginning of the tape. This is the beginning of his broadcast. And immediately when I heard him say this, I stopped. And that's what you have to do. You have to stop immediately and question everything. I want to play this one more time, and I want to see if y'all understand why I'm stopping.
35-year sentence for Karmelo Anthony, eligible for parole after serving half of that time.
Now, this became a huge, ridiculous issue about race because Karmelo Anthony happened to be black, the person he stabbed was white, and it became this whole race issue, which was ridiculous.
He said ridiculous about race 2 times. He lives in America. And he just said race was ridiculous. That people brought up race. Fam, do we believe that Austin would have had so much of a problem with Karmelo being under that tent if he was a white guy? Now knowing what we know. Remember, we all have all read the text messages and we've all read or heard Austin's background. The KKK, the neo-Nazi stuff, beating up black kids, all of it. And he still will not, he calls it ridiculous for you to believe that race had anything to do with it. Fam, I do not believe that what took place would have took place if Karmelo was a white kid. I just don't think it would have took place. I don't think Austin is getting so bent out of shape about it. I don't think he accosts or confronts or puts his hands on a white kid for being under their tent. I just don't. And now I understand why Jeff Metcalf said don't make it about race, because his son has a history of being racist. And he's been kicked out of school for it. It's a footprint. It's 53 pages of him bullying and beating up people and using racial slurs and all that stuff. And Nate, the lawyer, who people are telling me is so diplomatic, he starts his broadcast saying it's ridiculous to say this had anything to do with race. I believe it, once again, I believe that it has a lot to do. I think the very foundation that this even happened to these young people, that Austin's not here, part of the reason he's not here is because a black kid was under his tent. He did not like it. He didn't know Karmelo. They had no prior beef. What was it so bad about Karmelo being under the tent? And if Nate, the lawyer, can't be trusted to diagnose, to analyze that information honestly, to even consider it, then what are we even talking about? Instead, he calls it ridiculous, not once, but twice. And to me, that's him signaling to people like conservative Chris that he's one of the good ones. Because why else would you need to do that? And for the record, folks, and I want to say this, let me put this up full mass, Dr. Richard style. For the record, folks, anyone who says they just happen to be is always going to be suspect to me. Yeah, anyone who says they just happen to be black, that's always some BS. No, people don't just happen to be black. That means their mama or their daddy is black. That ain't just a happening. That means somebody who was white, someone who was black, made their parents. That's not a happening. That's not something that just happens. And if you are white, then that's an intentional, people got together and made babies. It's not a thing that just happens. Happens is, oh gosh, I spilled my coffee, oh shucks. But making human beings and passing on DNA and traits, that's not a thing that happens. That is the result of intentional, unless it was against one's will. Unless someone is violated sexually. So when I hear this type of talk, I always say, suspect. So see, no matter if you're talking about a doctor, a lawyer, a scientist, doesn't matter the degree, doesn't matter how much education they got. If you slow them down and go bar for bar, you can unpack whatever they're talking about and find holes in their argument. Let's keep going.
So where are we at now? Well, Karmelo Anthony asked that the original judge, the trial judge, be removed because they said that he had some biases against Karmelo Anthony that he had expressed during an interview. Another judge agreed with that, so Karmelo Anthony...
I'm wondering, and I haven't gone back and I looked at this, and I know it's going to be a long broadcast because I'm stopping it a lot, but I got to say, Nate, did you find any biases in the way the case was handled before this new judge did? You're a lawyer, and I'm just wondering. Because this lawyer, this attorney, this judge found biases. And I'm wondering, because you've been covering the Karmelo Anthony case pretty solidly for the last year. I'm wondering if you saw the same biases in that prior judge. Just wondering. I wonder if I can find that in your content. And I wonder why you and that judge disagreed with each other. Because you've been following it pretty closely. So we got another judge. We have another attorney, a judge in this case, who disagrees with you because I don't remember seeing content where Nate the lawyer said, hey, there should be a new judge put on this because this is bias. He showed bias in that interview he did with WFAA. Just wondering. See, once again, if you slow somebody down, you can ask pertinent questions. Don't matter if they're a doctor, lawyer, or scientist. It goes to credibility and bias.
Be removed because they said that he had some biases against Karmelo Anthony that he had expressed during an interview. Another judge agreed with that, so Karmelo Anthony's original judge was removed, and now a new judge is looking over the case to determine if Karmelo Anthony should be granted a new trial.
Where the judge at the center of that high school track meet stabbing trial has been removed as the convicted teen is appealing his conviction.
Okay, so now this is where things get interesting. See, Karmelo Anthony's attorneys and the prosecution had what's known as a gentleman's agreement. And the agreement was simple. No past bad acts about Karmelo Anthony or the victim, Austin Metcalf, could be brought up during the trial because it would just muddy everything up. But that limitation works both ways. Where now you couldn't put, let's say, Karmelo Anthony up as this good kid if he's been doing all of this other crazy negative stuff in the past. And that was the same for the prosecution. If you knew Austin Metcalf had all these issues in the past, you couldn't make him out to be some saint. You just had to kind of just leave it alone. Now, Texas Rules of Evidence already deals with this issue. Here is Rule 404 from the state of Texas. We're going to look at Rule 8.3, exceptions for the victim. In a criminal case, subject to the limitations of Rule 412, a defendant may offer evidence of the victim's pertinent trait. If you wanted to show that the victim was someone who provoked people all the time, then that would be a pertinent trait that the defendant can show to say, hey, look, I was defending myself because this guy has this reputation. But in reverse, the prosecutors can offer evidence to rebut it about the defendant. So it's a double-edged sword. The defendant opens the door, but the prosecutor can say, well, hold on, you got your own issues. And let's go to B. In a homicide case, the prosecutor may offer evidence of the victim's trait of peacefulness to rebut evidence of the victim that the victim was the first aggressor. All right, so how does this work practically? Well, it's really all up to the defense. If the defense wants to bring up the fact that the victim was aggressive, they're opening the door that the prosecutor can bring up the fact that the defendant was an aggressor. That's essentially how it works. And they can bring up their past acts to prove that. Now, if you have a defendant who has a lot of bad past acts, and you've got a victim with a whole bunch of bad past acts, generally they'll say, well, nobody brings up anything. And that's what happened in this.
And see, this is why I have a problem, folks, and this is why I say it's important for us to slow down this attorney. Because it wasn't that Karmelo and his legal team said, we want to bring up past acts of Austin. And then the prosecutor said, no, you can't bring up past acts or we're going to bring up your past acts. That's not what took place. And why is Nate lying? Yeah, Nate is not being honest. He was going to testify on his own behalf, not bring up past acts of Austin. He was going to testify about his state of mind when he was under the tent. No one expected him to come be a character witness for Austin. The prosecutors did not want Karmelo to defend himself. So you're not being fair. That's not why the defense said, if you go up on the stand, our agreement's off. That's why. So that's important. And the last thing before we move on, because this is real important, hit the like button if this makes sense to y'all. Hit the like button if you like the broadcast. Things maybe you didn't consider. The fact that Austin Metcalf has a history of intolerance, anti-blackness, anti-Semitism, all this anti-stuff, right? KKK, kill all the blacks, N-word stuff, and bullying black people. The reason why that's pertinent is not just to smear him or anything like that in death. That's not why. But it answers the question that we've been asking ourselves, if you're a decent human being, is why was he so upset that Karmelo was under the goddamn tent? It didn't make sense why he was so upset, to the point where he laid hands on Karmelo. Now we answer that question, because no one could understand that. What the hell was Karmelo doing that you want to lay hands on him to throw him from under the tent? What did he do? He was sitting there talking to somebody before you showed up. We saw on the videotape Austin and his brother coming later. He was already there. It seemed like everything was chill. And then comes Austin. Why does Austin have such a problem with the black kid being under the tent? I'm just asking. What was it? Now we know what it was. At least now, maybe we don't know for certain, but now we might have a better idea what it was. Austin's a bully, and Austin wants to CILL the blacks. It is what it is. In all of your showing the text messages of somebody being on the verge, does not change that. Because he did not run around with a knife chasing people. He was cornered. He was confronted while he sat down by a bigger kid. That's not the verge. The verge is, I'm not backing down from you this time. Maybe that's the verge. And for all you guys know, when he said he was on the verge, he could have been on the verge of hurting himself. But we won't even want to consider that because he's a black kid, right? Could have been possible he was very depressed and he lost his girlfriend. And maybe he was on the verge of doing something else to himself. But we won't even, that's not even going to cross the minds because obviously it's got to be something, violent against other people. Even people he doesn't even know. On my broadcast, I've said this before. I tell my kids, never mess with people you don't know. Walk away. You never know what people have going on in their lives. I just covered this on my live show. Had no bearing on this case, but I stated how important it is. Everybody you meet is going through some type of tragedy. Either just came through one, or they're about to get one, or whatever. You don't know what people are going through. People are losing their mothers, their kids, their cousins, their best friends. They're getting diagnosed every day. And here you go, arguing about who just cut you off, or who took the exit or didn't drive fast enough, or who crossed your path at the Piggly Wiggly, or whatever, who stood to look to, whose cart was in your way at the Walmart, or whatever. And we don't take in consideration the mind state, the possible mind state of the person that you're talking to. They could have just lost their job and are homeless, and they have an entire family with no place to stay. You don't know the mental state of people. So I tell my kids, walk it off. Walk it off. But they says, none of this is important, none of this is pertinent. And it's just coincidence that Austin has a background of being a racist asshole, and Karmelo just happens to be black, and all of a sudden we got to get him out the tent. So I'm saying it's relevant. It's not just to smear him. I think those two things are connected. And that's just my thoughts. Let's keep going.
Case. Now, this is Karmelo Anthony's new legal team, and they are challenging this gentleman's agreement. They're saying that their client was unable to testify because if he did, the prosecutor said that they would use his past bad acts against him when he testified. So they're saying that essentially violated the agreement because the prosecutor said they weren't able to do that, they shouldn't do that, and now they want a new trial. But that's one reason out of many they want the new trial. So they went to court and...
Why don't you stay there and argue that point? That's an important point. That's my point. They threatened Karmelo. If you testify, we want to bring everything up about you. But I'm not going to bring up nothing about us, and I'm just going to defend myself and explain why I responded the way I did. We don't care. We don't want you to be able to explain why you did what you did. Get what I'm saying? That makes sense?
While they were in court, we get to learn about this past bad acts that both sides were trying to hide. The prosecution didn't want the public to see Austin Metcalf's prior bad acts, the stuff that he was doing. And the defense didn't want the public to see Karmelo Anthony's little bad acts, the stuff that he had done. So because Karmelo Anthony's team is asking for a new trial, these things had to become public.
I also would like to add, folks, nothing from nothing. But it seemed to me like Austin Metcalf's people were a lot less concerned with the jury finding out about Austin Metcalf and his prior actions, his prior infractions, his prior racism. I wonder why they were less concerned. Is it more acceptable, maybe, to those jurors in Texas that Austin has, KKK fetish, neo-Nazi fetish, and give it to all the blacks in his past, that he's bullying black people in school like less than a year prior to this? Maybe he's not worried. He's not as concerned. Not as concerned. Only person concerned about that coming out seemed like it was Jeff Metcalf, who suddenly now wants to open up a youth organization to stop violence amongst kids. Interesting. It was a good time for him to do that before this shit happened, because his son had engaged in violence with young people before this. But that's neither here nor there. Let's keep going.
So they did. Now we're going to watch a news report who are going to go over both the bad acts of Austin Metcalf and the bad acts of Karmelo Anthony and the things that they've done in the past. And I'm going to say it is pretty insane. It's like Karmelo Anthony stuff is insane. Austin Metcalf stuff is pretty bad too. But Karmelo Anthony stuff is like next level stuff. Now, before we get into the video, here's a quick message from this video sponsor. Now remember, this wasn't allowed in because the defense attorney was like, we don't want our guys' bad stuff to come in, so we're not going to talk about your guys. All right, so here we're going to start with Austin Metcalf's background report. Now remember,
hey guys, remember
this wasn't allowed in because...
Hey guys, remember, go see Nate the Lawyer. I'm using his content. Nate the Lawyer has a YouTube channel. He has over 1 million subscribers. He's pretty popular. Go check him out on YouTube. Credit where it's due. This is his content. Okay? Go see Nate the Lawyer.
Because the defense attorney was like, we don't want our guys' bad stuff to come in, so we're not going to talk about your guys' bad stuff. So let's start with the victim. These are the bad and troubling things that were in Austin Metcalf's past that wasn't presented to the jury.
About Austin Metcalf's background report that was never presented to the jury. CBS News Texas has also learned new details about Austin Metcalf's background. Metcalf and his brother Hunter.
Look at the body language of Nate while they're reading about Austin. I found this telling. Why does he look so defensive and defiant about it? I mean, he's got the same body language as Austin. I don't get it.
Were once caught spray painting graffiti, including KKK Kill All Blacks and Heil Hitler, along with the N-word, and were sentenced to 12 months of juvenile probation.
A little bit different. Nate conflates text messages to convictions. He said text messages about things that Karmelo was never charged with, that we don't even know if they took place. He could have just been welling trying to impress his girl that he's a badass. Nate doesn't even consider, maybe he didn't do any of that shit. Maybe he's just talking a good game, trying to spit game at this girl on his text. He doesn't have any bodies in his basement. No warrants for his arrest. But Nate doesn't even consider that. But with Austin, he's tried and convicted. And he says, it's not a big deal. Austin stuff's nothing. And they include convictions, and Nate's a lawyer. And I got people telling me, you need to watch Nate. Nate really has the goods. And I'm saying you're going too fast. You're not slowing it down. Hit pause and go back over what was just said. Why is he not talking about this? Why am I saying this and he's not saying it?
Records reveal they reportedly told authorities, we did some dumb stuff. We did some vandalism. There are several documented.
You know the race baiters are going to love that. KKK, Heil Hitler. We did some stuff. They're gonna play. Oh, he was a racist. He was a racist. But I still want to.
Race baiting is to acknowledge that Austin was sentenced to 12 months probation for racial slurs and shit like that. I didn't do it. They did it in Texas. But to acknowledge that is race baiting. Yeah, you would think a person who did that probably was racist. It's not a text message to a friend. It's someone who wanted the world to see these words. But it's nothing to see here because Nate says it's nothing. I'm telling you, fam.
To make it very clear, because he did this is the reason why this stuff isn't usually let in the court, because people have the tendency to say, oh, he did that bad thing back then, that means he did this bad thing now.
I'll bring you Jordan Neely. Jordan Neely enters this chat. When Daniel Penny unalived Jordan Neely, all I kept saying to these conservatives, including Abba and Preach, was, y'all bringing up shit that Jordan Neely did months ago that no one even knew about, that no one on that train knew about. All he did that day on that train was be loud. And you killed him in broad daylight. It seems weird.
That's not the case. So again, and let's not forget too, this is years ago when this guy was 17. So we're talking about when he was 13, 14 years old.
15,
when these
16.
things were done.
Same thing. 14, 15, 16. And he did shit at 17. It's a pattern. He was beating up black kids earlier the same year he died. What are you talking about? No, he didn't go back and get caught spray painting the N-word and kill all the blacks just before he died, but he'd already done that. Maybe he was bored of doing that.
With Karmelo Anthony.
Instances of Austin using racial slurs in school. And in 2023, Austin was accused of bullying a black student in class. In 2018, while still in elementary school, Austin and his brother were accused of bullying and assaulting a female, which led.
So he beat up a kid, bullying a black kid in 2023. He wasn't 13 or 14. And back in 2018, he was beating up girls. I wonder if it was a black girl or a white girl. Just wonder.
Led to his arrest.
He was arrested in elementary school. Woo.
And he was arrested also after elementary school. Because the racial slur shit was not in elementary school. That was in middle school.
Ooh. This background for Austin Metcalf is not helpful. It's not helpful at all.
During an argument in 2024 with another female student, Austin allegedly knocked her to the ground and punched her in the stomach. He was also.
That's not relevant? That's nothing, huh? So he's fighting in 2023 and he's fighting in 2024. So he beat up a woman, he beat up a girl in 2018, beats another girl up in 2024, and beats up a black kid in 2023. And none of this is important. And you want to talk to me about Karmelo's text messages. That shit he did, things he talked about doing. Oh, got it. Y'all told me to check out Nate. Y'all said, check out Nate, Tim. He's being more transparent. No, what he's doing is he's playing that conservative tap dance shit right now. That's what he's doing because that's his audience. And you fell for it. You smarter than that. You're smarter than that. You can't see through this. He's giving no weight to actions. He's giving more weight to words in a text between an individual with another individual than he's given to actions in the real world. He's going to give more weight to pictures posted than actions. He goes, Karmelo took a picture with a gun. Not that he did something with the gun to somebody, just that he took the picture with the gun. He's a black man and an attorney giving he's giving more leverage and more significance to pictures and words in a phone written than actual physical actions to other people. And you would say, Tim, you gotta check out Nate. Now you just want me to agree with him. He's wrong. It's unethical as hell, fam.
Also kicked out of a football game and texted someone later, "I was about to beat the expletive out of those kids." At a previous track meet, when another student alerted Austin that someone not on their team, quote, "behind our bench was talking wild," Austin reportedly replied, "Kill that MF." During the 2023-2024 school year, he received in-school suspension twice. School disciplinary records from April 2022 to May 2024 reveal that Austin reportedly called a teacher the B word and used profanity. He told a school official that he couldn't control it and wasn't aware that it was coming out of his mouth.
So I'm going to say it. All right. So we got a kid, racial slurs, beating up girls, doing all this crazy stuff, right? This guy's a teen. This is a wild boy.
Not just beating up girls, beating up guys too. He beat up guys too. I was a black kid, 2023. Beat up girls, 2024. Yeah. What else he got to do, fam? Just saying. None of that goes to his mindset and what kind of kid he was? You don't think that has any bearing on what happened that day?
This is a wild boy. So now we're getting some.
He's a wild boy. You're a wild boy. That's it. That's what we call that. I thought that's delinquent. Thought that was thug. No? What's a white kid got to do, fam? Hey, look. I don't mean no harm. Hey, conservative Chris, what does a white kid got to do to be called a thug in America? What you got to do? I know what they got to do. They have to go get a tattoo that says thug on it, with a shirt that says thug on it, with a chain with an emblem that says thug. And then maybe their mother has to also name them thug for you to call them thug. But all the black kids got to do is be black and do one thing, and you'll call them thug. If you like this content so far, subscribe to the Tim Black Show. We live stream Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. This one's on the house. I'm a problem.
You know, he's aggressive. Now, if the defense put this up, this would have maybe been like, this guy who we're talking about, it was pretty aggressive, right? This guy's pretty aggressive. And Karmelo Anthony had a reason to be fearful of this guy. Look at this past stuff. He's punching his girlfriend in the stomach. But we haven't got to the other side yet, because you think this is bad. We haven't got to the other side. I've seen this already. We've got the other side is even more insane than this. This white boy is insane.
That's why you did this first. Yeah, see, it's everything matters. All of this matters. Listen, folks, just the sheer fact that he started off with footage about the victim, I would think you would start off with Karmelo's stuff, because Karmelo was the person who stabbed Austin. I don't deny Karmelo unalived Austin. Why would you not start off with Austin's? I'm sorry, why would you not start off with Karmelo's issues? His past. He's the one who just got denied. He's the one who's been convicted of murder. I'll tell you why. Because when you go, whoever goes last, you get to make them seem like the worst. That's the only reason why. What other reason would there be for him not starting with Karmelo? Because the last word will be the worst. It's a hierarchy. You start low and end high. But I know, guys, you're right. I need to really watch Nate because Nate gets it. He really has it. What he has is a bias, an obvious bias. And I admit, once again, folks, I admit that what took place should not have happened. If my son did the actions of either one of these, I'd be very disappointed. I'd be ashamed. Either one. Both actions were unacceptable. But I'm fair. We got conservatives like conservative Chris who saw nothing wrong with what Austin did. He should play police. He should police the tent and then lay hands on people that don't listen to him as if he is Deputy Sheriff Austin Metcalf. And I got to feel it. He didn't say, "Excuse me, young man. Hi, brother. How are you? Could you do us a favor? We were really hoping you could just please leave our tent. We don't want any trouble." I got a feeling that's not the way he talked to Karmelo. I mean, I'm just guessing. I could be wrong. I'm making some assumptions. But I got a feeling, Nate and Chris, conservative, I got a feeling. Even Bill O'Reilly's guy, Bill O'Reilly's, I got a feeling that Austin wasn't so polite to Karmelo. But I know because Karmelo sent text messages talking big and bad like he's Billy Badass to his girlfriend. Obviously, he must be a serial killer, right? All right, guys. Remember, this is the Tim Black Show. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button, fam. And this is where we say goodbye. Yeah, this is where we say goodbye. Oh, here it goes. I'm sorry, guys. That's why I don't like doing stuff. I don't like throwing people out of here. Because sometimes things move. Let me make sure I get the right guy. Here we go. Mickey. Let's get rid of Mickey. That's it. That's who we're getting rid of. Bye, Mickey. Thanks for coming by, man. I appreciate you. Well, let me make sure. Mickey, you talking to me? Yeah, because Mickey could be talking to somebody else. I don't know. You know what? I'm not throwing anybody out today. How about that? Because I can't. I have no way to know who you're talking to. So unless you're using profane language, you know what I'm saying? Some shit like that, some slurs or something, we let it ride. You know? Yeah. Let's go back to the comments. Let's see what we got here. Willie Mays up in the building. Is Nate the lawyer African? I don't know. But he appears to be compromised. And what happens is sometimes, fam, I think some of us, we see black, we see, somebody with brown skin, and we just think, oh, they're going to be fair to us. That's as bogus. That's a bogus way. You can't use that. That's not a signal of anything except somebody laid down with somebody else and made a baby. That's all that tells you. And same thing goes to white guys and white women and Asians, anybody else. Just because they are Asian, white, or whatever doesn't mean they're going to throw you under the bus necessarily. But we get a false sense of security when we see a black person. That's got to stop. The Democratic Party is full of black people. Well, they have a lot of black people. And what do they do for you? So, yeah. You know what I'm saying? Nate says I think both were bad kids. Well, Nate, you should have said that more. You let me down, man. You let me down, Nate. But I look, Nate, since you came by, you're being very cool to come by and speak up on my chat. He paid a couple bucks to even say that. I appreciate you. Anytime you want to talk about it, we can. We all know that benefits my channel more than it benefits yours because you are Nate. But I appreciate you stopping by to say that. What I'm saying, Nate, you seem biased. It seemed to me like you were weighing actions done by Austin. You put less weight to Austin's actions than you did Karmelo's ramblings in his text. That we don't know if he did any of that shit at all. He got suspended from school, that's true. But other than his school suspensions, Nate, we don't know if he did that. You don't know if he stole someone's watch. He could have just said that to impress the girl. It's dysfunctional as hell. It's dysfunctional as hell for any kid to get stripes or feel like he has to brag about negative or violence. But we don't know if he did that in the real world. But we do know Austin did some things in the real world. That's what I got a problem with. And it seems like you just believe it because it was a text message. And I don't necessarily believe it. I don't know. It doesn't mean I agree with what happened. It does not mean that I think that Karmelo Anthony should have stabbed Austin Metcalf, because I do not. And I would never condone my son doing that, okay? Just so we are clear, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm not on that. I just don't think it was murder, Nate. But I want y'all to give it up for Nate the lawyer. And as I stated, guys, go see Nate the lawyer. Watch his whole broadcast. I don't want to paint him any way other than I'm giving my opinion, but I do not want to disparage him. Right, I don't want you to make your judgment just off what I said. He's got a humongous channel. He put out a long broadcast. This is just part of it. So please go see him and see his original video and make a judgment for yourself. I think both of these kids were wrong. It's unfortunate, it's sad. My problem are those people, like a couple people in my comment section, who don't seem to have a problem with what Austin did. I still believe if Austin does not accost Karmelo, everybody goes home. That's what I believe. And I'm dumbfounded that other people don't see it that way. And I know we could, and someone's going to say, if he never went under the tent, that does not warrant people putting hands on you. Once something turns aggressive, once somebody puts hands on somebody, we don't know what's going to happen. Hell, Daniel Penny unalived Jordan Neely, and he didn't put hands on anyone that day. Just talking about putting hands on people got Jordan Neely unalived on a subway train in front of a whole subway full of people. And Daniel Penny not only did not get convicted, he got to go to a football game with the president and the vice president. Is this thing on? This making sense? It don't make sense to me. I know they're different cases. But you understand what I'm saying? I think you do. So what I'm saying is, when Austin put his hands on Karmelo, all bets were off. There's a less of a standard in the New York case where Jordan Neely didn't put his hands on anyone. He just said things. And they took him at his word that he was going to do things. He didn't say he had a weapon. He just talked loud. And people were afraid because he said things. And that fear of what he was saying was so detrimental that the Marine, the 6'3" Marine, trained killer, had to unalive the 115-pound homeless man, the emaciated homeless man, unarmed. And he walked free. No manslaughter, no nothing. So I point out these things on this channel. It doesn't mean Jordan Neely was good to be accosting people on the train, for talking shit on the train, for threatening people. I'm not saying that's cool. Because when you make a threat, somebody might believe you. Why nobody believes that Austin made threats? I mean, I got a feeling if he'll like kill all the blacks on the wall, maybe he might be willing to say that to a black kid. He's writing racial slurs, black slurs on walls, and saying racial stuff. It's in the notes from Nate the lawyer said it. And bullying black kids, maybe he bullied this black kid. And I know his friends didn't say he did, but I'm just saying, does that mean it didn't happen? I mean, they're his friends. Now, we covered the Nolan Wells case. In the Nolan Wells case, he's got a lot of friends, right? I know it's different cases, but follow me what I'm saying here. The Nolan Wells case, his friends, very close to him. They say they loved him like a brother. Maybe Austin's teammates loved him like a brother. Maybe you don't tell on your brother? I'm just saying. I'm just saying, you know. Because I just don't believe that the way people are imagining this went down, I don't think that's how it went down. It doesn't mean I'm justifying stabbing someone. I just don't think it was murder. That's all. That's all. All right, let's go back to Nate, man. Nate commented. True. Nate says, I've been a fan of yours for years. I think you were wrong, but I will still watch. Thank you, brother. And the same goes here. The same goes here. You know I watch some of your content. You know that. I think you know that. Because I know that I've responded to you on X before. I think you're wrong. And that's all I'm expressing. Some of my viewers hold you in very high esteem. That's why I use your clip, because they told me to. And I can actually find the comment of the viewer that told me, Nate said this and Nate said that. You should check out Nate because Nate's got more information than you do about this particular whatever. So that's what made me watch. And all I'm saying is, I don't think it was murder. That's my opinion. That's my commentary. Doesn't mean I'm justifying it. Let's go to somebody else. Because I don't think I'm going to convince Nate. Well, yeah, I know. Someone said, Tim, zero evidence of self-defense. Here goes one. Let's check this out. Mickey says he held him in a lock but didn't choke. He literally said when he turned himself in. He held him in a lock but didn't choke. I don't know what that means. Okay. Look, check this out. Here goes something. Lush Oyan 777 says, let's agree to disagree. One is in jail, one is in hell. Whew. It's some senseless stuff, though, isn't it? Isn't that senseless? Thank you for the comment, Orion. That's some sad stuff, man. It really is. Okay. Here goes. And this is my point. And as we know, Gary, I'm bringing up a case that we're not talking about now. And I'm just pointing out that people didn't see a problem when Daniel Penny responded to a threat. And he said, hey, I was afraid for everybody on the train. He didn't wait to see what the level of force was that Jordan Neely was going to use, if any. He acted preemptively, and people agreed with it, to the point of sending him $1 million, and he gets a ticket to the game with Trump and J.D. Vance. And all I'm saying is, strange. I said it then. I said it then. I'm saying it now. That's what I think, man. And once again, guys, look, I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. And you're going to find more content of mine criticizing Democrats. All right? That's what you're going to find if you look. But that does not mean that I think you should be able to unalive people on the train because they look scary or because they said something. And particularly if you're a Marine and your body is a trained weapon, you should be able to say, okay, if he does something, it's over for him. But you wait for him to do something. You don't preemptively act on a homeless guy. Hey, look, I'm from D.C. D.C. and Maryland have something in common. We got some crazy metro stations. Our subways have got crazy people on them. We have a mental hospital by the name of St. Elizabeth. It's right off our bus line, right off our subway line. When Ronald Reagan made changes to our mental health in this country, and they basically opened the doors on the mental health facilities, D.C. got walloped. Downtown D.C. got walloped. Okay? So what I'm saying is, I'm used to going to work and seeing homeless people say crazy things on trains. You shouldn't be able to kill them just because they said something. Done something, exposed something, a weapon, yeah. But not because they said words. And all I'm doing is pointing out the hypocrisy of people that say, but he didn't push him that hard. Austin didn't push him that hard. Jordan Neely didn't touch anyone. So I try to understand what is it that makes you have such a low bar for self-defense for Daniel Penny and such a high bar for Karmelo Anthony. I'm not a race baiter. At least I don't believe I am. But unlike Nate, I don't overlook race. I factor it in. I don't say that's a deciding factor for everything, but I'm just wondering, why is it such a low bar for Daniel Penny to act aggressively and such a high bar against Karmelo? So anyway, that's it. That's all I got. Look, I want to thank all y'all for coming through tonight. I do. Once again, this was a show I just felt like I had to do. If you think this ruling gives you less trust in our judicial system, give me a 1. If you feel like it gives you more trust, give me a 0. Put a 1 up if you think you have more trust based on this ruling, this decision about this procedural issue about this trial. Remember, there's still an appeals court process. It ain't over. This case is not done. I don't know how many appeals you get. Nate, the lawyer, will be a better resource to find out how many appeals you get. But they get to appeal. So what would it take to get this overturned? Well, they're going to have to produce some new evidence. Yeah, they're going to have to produce new evidence in order to warrant a new trial or an appeal, right? That's because this jury already decided on this case. So, I mean, once again, Nate the lawyer, I'm not a lawyer at all. I did go to paralegal school back in the day, but I'm not a lawyer, man. That's Nate the lawyer. So yeah. So denial is not vindication of the full story. These clips will be coming out in 48 hours. They're going to be more condensed. Maybe you want to share this broadcast, but it's too long, and I get that. I can't be long-winded. I'm going to put out a shorter video. Just going to take the best parts of this. Once again, fam, there is one thing that Nate said that I will agree with. Something he said. I'm gonna add this. Then I want to thank y'all. He said in his video at the very end, he said, it feels like the parents let Karmelo down. And I'm gonna tell you, man, the actions of both these kids, the backgrounds of these kids, if my kids act like that, man, I don't know what I would do. I mean, all of the ish they both had gotten into in such an early stage in their lives. I mean, we got to blame somebody for that. I mean, come on, Johnson, getting repeated suspensions where you might get expelled? Really? For violence? Really? Laying hands on teachers? Excuse me. Really? Beating up girls? Really? And I'm not saying the parents even knew about some of this stuff, particularly the text messages. I mean, most parents don't check their kids' text messages. Do y'all realize, beside the fact he killed someone, you can't leave that out. He took someone's life unnecessarily. But besides that, man, he's also in jail since for 35 years, mainly because he texts his girlfriend some incriminating stuff. He made threats to his girlfriend. He made threats about what he would do and these types of things. And if his parents would have looked at his phone and got that boy some help, we're not sitting here. Austin's playing football. Maybe he's playing track and in counseling, and none of this happens. So, though I disagree with Nate the lawyer on some of his conclusions, I want to be straight up and say I agree. I don't want to say the parents failed him. I'll say they missed an opportunity to help him avoid this. But who knows? Maybe they had him in counseling. They could have had him in counseling all this time. I don't know what's not included. You know what else is true? Those text messages that they're reading about Karmelo Anthony, we don't know what was responded to. We don't know the context of those messages. Karmelo said, "I would lick blood off my blade." What was he talking about? Where'd that come from? What conversation were they having? Were they playing truth or dare? Who knows? Was he spitting rap lyrics? I heard that's a phrase used in GTA, Grand Theft Auto. It's like not even a real thing. Who even talks like that? That's some John Wick cartoon shit. But at the end of the day, man, this is not a joke. Someone lost their life. And as much as I can't say in Jeff Metcalf, and I think he knows a lot about, I think they were raised in an environment where racism and bigotry were prevalent. I don't think he was all that shocked about what came out about his son because he already knew. Now, I believe that Karmelo Anthony's parents may not have known about those damn text messages, but there weren't text messages about Austin. His whole family knew about his problems. And Jeff's up there acting like he don't know shit. And I know people be giving Karmelo Anthony's parents the business, but they might not even know what this kid was saying in these text messages. They may not have any idea that he was threatening his girlfriend. You know, it's not like you go tell your mom, hey, Mom, by the way, I threatened to stab my girl. I mean, who would tell their mom that? Who would tell their father that? So people are conveniently blaming the parents for that but I'm assuming, and I know it's crazy, but I'm assuming that the parents didn't have any idea that their son was talking that crazy shit. You talking about he's selling drugs to buy guns. Where's the convictions? Where's the drugs? And that's why I had a problem with Nate, because Nate said those things as if those were facts. He could have just said them because he wants to be a badass and wants people to think he a thug. Because he think that's how you get the girls. Doesn't mean he did it. Doesn't mean he did it. But no one's giving him any of that grace. No one's considering that maybe he's just talking smack like rappers do. Maybe it's not true. The kid that I heard, but he put his hands on me, didn't seem like a thug to me. That's all I'm saying. But since he could take a selfie and do this, they have him labeled as being this, you know. That's all I got. Look, guys, if you find this broadcast interesting, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to this channel. I ended on this, man. Look, nobody happens to be black. I'm black, okay? You are whatever you are. You ain't happen to be black or white or Latino, whatever you are. You are that. And any of that type of soft language, and if I'm writing racial slurs and you bring them up, that's not you race baiting. I shouldn't have wrote them. But you're not going to find me writing racial slurs. But I'm just saying, these are things I got a problem with. People giving Austin Metcalf posthumously a pass for using that type of language, and then I just don't do it. Look, if you're going to subscribe to this channel, do me a favor, hit the all notifications. I'm on Facebook as Real Tim Black. I'm on TikTok. It's the Tim Black Show. I'm on Instagram. It's Tim Black Show. That's all I got. I got nothing but love for you. Check me out as also go to, I have a show I do every 2 weeks with my brother, Musa Abdullah. It's called Beyond the Talking Points. All Things Education Official on YouTube. Follow his channel as well. That's my co-host, Dr. Musa Abdullah. All right? That's it. We good? We good. Any more? Look, I want to thank anybody who gave a super chat, man. Anybody who gave a super chat, shout out to Nate the lawyer for coming by and being gracious and not really giving a shit. But you know what I'm saying. Not getting all crazy. I appreciate it. We can agree to disagree. I want to thank anybody else who contributed to the show. Ian, what's up, fam? It's been a minute. I always got to give it up for my brothers wearing cool hats, man. The cool hat crew, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I just, you know, I'm a dad, so I always got to say, if you're in a situation, fam, you're in a situation where you got too much stress on you, talk to somebody. If you're a young person, you got nobody else to talk to, you can reach out to me. Okay? I'm Tim at TimBlackTV.com. Talk to someone. I feel like what happened between these two young people, it could have been avoided. And people want to say the parents let the children down. I also want to say the community may have let them down. The school may have let them down. This argument that took place at this track meet, there were supposed to be parents there. So if you're a young person, man, you're going through some stuff, you got a bad breakup, you got animosity between people you haven't even met, you need somebody to talk to. I'm not licensed. You got to find somebody to talk to. Because this is a failure of our society that this happened. It didn't happen at 2 a.m. on some back street. It happened in broad daylight in front of a bunch of people. No one intervened. They didn't even know each other. What's that say about us as a society? What's that say? And I'm hearing people having a lot to say. Why aren't they saying that? Why I'm not hearing people take this type of a stance on it? Because it's an indictment. When our young men whose lives just starting, one loses their life and one loses their freedom. And for what? Nothing. We can make it about these kids if we want to, but that's lazy. That's also a failure of the community. And these people, these 2 kids, both of these kids have been involved in the system at some point. What a great system we have, where we can't even put straight kids that made honor roll. Think about that. These are honor roll kids. We can't even keep them safe from each other. Y'all get what I'm saying? You get where I'm coming from? It's a failure all the way around the board. Life is precious. We need to treat it that way. Our young people are precious. We need to treat them that way. It's easy just to say, this one was a thug and this one was a racist. Feel better about life and walk away. But what if that's not the whole story? All right, I'm Tim Blackman. I don't thank y'all for being here, fam. Y'all got me getting all deep. We all know what gets your views in the YouTube world is bombastic takedowns. Maybe that's what got us here, you know? Maybe that's why we are where we are. All right, guys, that's it. Remember, lies are safe. Anybody can lie. It's truth that's dangerous. Stay dangerous. I got reasons for doing what I do. I said I have reasons for doing what I do. And here they go. Video. There you go. There you go. There go my people. That's my little brother. He ain't so little no more. Baby, you cannot be in the sink. What are you doing?